Well, here we are. It is the finals of the Pokemon Draft League. Honestly, at the start of the season, I didn't think I'd make this far. I'm pretty happy to be here, but obviously, we gotta try to take it all the way, right? We've gotta try to take it all the way. So we're against Lichus and the Doofer Duots, and this team is honestly pretty scary. Like Fluttermane, Ogerpon Wellspring, Arcanine Hisui, Latios, Tinglu, Scizor, Palmot, and then Morgrem Coughing, Sneasel. I don't really think Morgrem Coughing or Sneasel will be showing up here just because they're Morgrem Coughing and Sneasel. That being said, like they could come, but it's like I don't really think they're an issue. But the rest of the team is so scary. You've got the Fluttermane, which is obviously super strong, and it's pretty good into my team too. I have a lot of very weak Pokemon with like Chenpao, Passimian, and Dragonite. Those are all like Pokemon I want to have do damage, and they can't really. And then it's obviously got Dazzling Gleam, so I can't just follow me with Magmar, who resists it. So it makes that tough. Then we have Ogerpon Wellspring, which can follow me and redirect my attacks, like my Chenpao Sucker Punch that might be going for Fluttermane. It's those two combined are really tough to deal with. But that's not the whole team because Arcanine Hisui is here with Intimidate to stop my physical attackers, which is just lovely jubbly. Then Latios obviously really strong. But Chenpao is really good into it, and I've got like Tinkaton for it. So I'm not the most worried about Latios, but it's still very scary. Nonetheless. And Tinglu, very defensive tank. But once again, I do have a lot of Pokemon that counter Tinglu, so there's even a chance it doesn't even come. Just because like what all beats Tinglu on my that I have. Kenpao beats Tinglu, Palafin beats Tinglu, Shaman beats Tinglu. I guess that's really it. Passimian and kind of Dragonite, flying type. So I can't like. Okay, Tinglu probably will come though because it does have good matchups into probably the rest of my team. But overall, out of things on this team, it's like the thing I'm worried about the least. Next up we have Scizor. You can see in my team right now, I'm not bringing Magmar, so Scizor could be really scary. But at the end of the day, like I can deal with it with some of my stuff, but it is going to be tough. It is Scizor is pretty good into what I brought. But like it was so hard to come up with counters for this team that I kind of just have to take the loss on the Scizor matchup. Like I still have something to deal with it, like Shadow Ball, Petulant is good into it. But yeah, I mean Raikou beats it, but it's still very scary. Then we've got Palmot. Palmot gets Volt Absorb, or wait, does Palmot abilities? I'm pretty sure it gets Volt Absorb. I don't know why it is. Yeah, it gets Volt Absorb. So I need to be careful with my Raikou, not to get that. But otherwise, like the only thing it really has going for it in this matchup is that it beats Chenpao, and it's got Fake Out. So I don't really know if that I really don't think it's coming. And then Morgrem Coughing Sneasel. I'm not really that worried about any of those. I'm not gonna lie. Anyway, let's go over my team. So we're starting off with Raikou. Raikou's been so good in the last couple weeks. So we're bringing it again, this time with the Life Orb. Inner Focus, just in case the Palmot is coming with Fake Outs. I mean, not like I'm going to be running pressure on this anyway. We've got Terra Flying with Thunderbolt, Terra Blast, Scald, Protect. The Terra Flying here is for the Ogerpon Wellspring. So I can Terra Flying, Terra Blast, and that. and it also helps in the Tinglu, just so that I don't get earthquaked or something. And yeah, Scald. Scald obviously good into Arcanine Hisui and also Tinglu, but I gotta be worried about Ogerpon Wellspring with Water Absorb for that. And then yeah, Thunderbolt is pretty solid here. It hits a lot of the things I'm worried about. It hits Ogerpon Wellspring pretty hard if it Terras even with a special attack or special defense boost. And I think this thing is very solid in this matchup. Next up, we've got Tinkaton with Fake Out, Gigaton Hammer, Thunderwave Knockoff. This is mostly for Terra Fairy Flutter Mane. It's really good into that. I mean, we got Ohm Tempo for Arcanine's for potential Arcanine Intimidate. And I didn't even have to run. I barely had to run any attack EVs in this. Well, actually, I didn't have to run any in order to kill Fluttermane guaranteed. If it's Focus Sash, here's the thing, right? Fluttermane is going to be either one of two items. It's going to be Focus Sash or it's going to be Booster Energy. If it's Booster Energy, it guaranteed outspeeds Qianpao all the time. But that means it dies to one hit from Gigaton Hammer, right? If it's Focus Sash, that means it at best speed ties Qianpao. So each one has its drawback, I guess. I would rather it be Booster Energy, honestly, just for the consistency. But yeah. So we got Terra Water on this because of Ogerpon, Arcanine, stuff like that. Citrus Berry for the extra health, and then we got Thunder Wave. I think speed control is really important in this matchup. And they have Latios and Scizor for Tailwind, so I want to make sure I can counteract that Tailwind since I'm not bringing any Tailwind myself. So we got Thunder Wave, and then we've also got Knockoff, which can help into like Latios, help into a lot of things that may rely on their item a lot. Then we've got Petulant up next. We got Terra Normal to avoid the Shadow Ball from Fluttermane. Malignant Chain and Shadow Ball is a very nice stab combo here. It hits Fluttermane, it hits Ogerpon if it doesn't Terra, it hits Latios, which all three of those are great things to hit super effective damage here. We've also got Foul Play in case they start trying to set up Sword Stances with Scizor. This is my Scizor counter, by the way. It's like my only Scizor counter, which is kind of sketchy. But yeah, and we got a like very high special attack here for that Ogerpon and to do a lot of damage. Next up, this one I'm excited about because it's Shaman. Now, the one lead I was most worried about here was Ogerpon, Wellspring, and Fluttermane lead, because they could just follow me with Ogerpon, and I couldn't really do anything about it. I had nothing that could do well into the matchup against both Ogerpon and Fluttermane, except for this Shaman. We're running a physical Shaman with Bullet Seed, Play Rough, Terra Blast, Protect. Actually, I don't think Play Rough is that good. Getting a Latios. That's about it. Actually gonna swap this out for Tailwind. Bullet Seed, Tailwind, Terra Blast, Protect with Terra Ground. Now, wait, why? Oh, Terra Ground is for Arcanine. That's right. Terra Ground, Terra Blast is for Arcanine. But this Bullet Seed is really nice because with the Sword of Rune active with Qianpao, this guaranteed with 4 hits should take out the Fluttermane unless it's super physically tanky. So only takes 4 hits to kill it with the Sword of Ruin active, which is important. And we got the loaded dice, so we're guaranteed 4 hits. But if they lead Ogerpon, Fluttermane, and decide to click Follow Me, this still does a lot of damage into Ogerpon, especially if it Terras, right? If it doesn't Terra, we're able to kill it with a combination of Bullet Seed and any move from Qianpao. If it does Terra, we just kill it with this, which is nice. Oh yeah, well, we can go to Qianpao next, I guess. But yeah, the Bullet Seed is super nice here. Then we've got Chen Pao. Terra Stellar, actually, because with Terra Stellar, Sucker Punch, if Flutter Mane it does not Terra into Fairy or anything, and it's booster energy, this kills. Terra Stellar Sucker Punch kills, which is super, super important. And then we've obviously got Ice Spinner and then Sacred Sword for the Arcanine. This can hit a lot of stuff on this team well. This combination of moves. It's really not that good against like Scizor, right? But even then, it's still super strong. Then finally, this was actually a last minute addition to the team. I originally had Palafin, and I was also considering Magmar. I considered Dragonite too, which I considered my whole team. This is a scary matchup. But I ended up going with Passimian. It's been a while since I used Passimian, but I think Choice Scarf Passimian is really good here. And here's why, because first off, U-Turn does a lot to Ogerpon, but it can also outspeed Flutter Mane if it's not booster energy to break the Focus Sash with the U-Turn. Yeah, which is absolutely huge. Then we've got Close Combat for the Arcanine. This is also Defiant, so if it's Intimidate Arcanine, we have a way to counter that. And this outspeeds their whole team, obviously, with Choice Scarf. Unless one of them is Scarfed or they use Tailwind or something. And it does good damage into their whole team. Like, Close Combat hits everything here besides Flutter Mane, obviously, and Latios. But both of those are weak to something else here. Like, Latios is weak to U-Turn, Flutter Mane weak to Iron Head, and I'm Terra Steel also. So I can do a ton of damage to the Flutter Mane. And then Close Combat does a lot of damage to everything else, and except for maybe Ogerpon, but like you're U-turning on the Ogerpon anyway, most of the time, which does a lot of damage too. So this thing could actually put in a ton of work in this matchup, and I'm pretty glad that I put it on the team at the end because I originally had Dragonite, and Dragonite really doesn't do anything here. It kind of just it's kind of only good into Ogerpon Wellspring, which is why it's actually the first and only battle where we're leaving Dragonite behind, I believe. So in the finals, finally not bringing Dragonite. But yeah, that's the team. Once again, super happy to have made it this far. If we win, it'd be really, really awesome. But if we lose, like we're still top two. It's still a good result. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'll see you in the final match. And we are here for the match. And just like last time, it is going to be post commentary because I did really want to focus because it was the finals. I wanted to be completely locked in and I didn't want to be talking during the match. Anyway, here we go. We're going to start with game one. Now, as you can see here, I did change my Shaman Stereotype to water. It was ground when I did team preview stuff. But I changed it to water just because I thought it was better into the Arcanine. Yeah, Arcanine. But you can see my opponent here has Flutter Mane, Ogerpon, Arcanine, Latios, Scizor, and actually Morgrem, which I was a little bit surprised to see is a Morgrem. But we see 4 Terra Waters here, which is actually kind of crazy, right? These Terra types are not great for my Chen Pao, but Raikou goes kind of crazy here, is what I notice. So I wanna bring Raikou, and I'm thinking, okay, what else should I bring? I had a certain lead that I wanted to do that I was planning on doing, and so I decided to go with that lead, which is Chen Pao and Passimian. And we see into Ogerpon Arcanine, and I'm like, okay, this is fine, right? We get the Defiant boost on Passimian, and they're kind of in a tough situation here, right? They could follow me onto Ogerpon, which I think is pretty likely here. And then they could like Rock Slide, Flare Blitz, anything like that. So I do think the follow me here is quite obvious. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually protect Chen Pao, thinking that they're going to attack with maybe Rock Slide or they're going to Flare Blitz into this slot. And I U-turn and I hit the Ogre Pawn. It does a ton of damage. I'm 1.5 times attack. And now, here's the problem, right? I have Tinkaton and Raikou in the pack. So I realize here after I U-turn that, ooh, if they Flare Blitz into my Passimian slot, this could be kind of bad. I don't really want Tinkaton to go down here. And Raikou might be able to live. So I go to Raikou. And we die to the Flare Blitz. Now, I don't usually like to use damage calcs mid-match. It feels, I don't know. It feels like bringing your notes to a test, you know? Like, you should, I feel like if you want to do your calcs, prepare beforehand. That's just me. That's just how I like to play. So here, I'm like, man, is that choice band? Like, I don't know if that kills unless it's choice band. Like, that's, Arcanine's pretty strong, but I don't think it's that strong. And my Raikou's kind of bulky a little bit. Actually, I don't think I ran any bulk on this one. But still, like, I feel like that's got to be choice band. And it does take a lot of damage in recoil. So I go to Tinkaton here. And I'm like, okay, I'm in a pretty bad situation, right? Because this Arcanine can do a ton to me. But if it's choice band, it can't extreme speed me. And I can hit it with a Sacred Sword. And if I fake out the Ogre Pawn, it can't follow me. But I'm worried that Sacred Sword might not kill because of the attack drop. So what I do is I Terra Stellar, fake out the Ogre Pawn, and Sacred Sword, and it gets the KO. Which is really good because that Arcanine was going to be a problem next to this Ogre Pawn if I didn't get rid of it quick. So getting the fake out there was super nice. And then flinches, and we see the Latios. Now the problem with this is that it's Terra Water, which is not great for my Chen Pao. And I'm like, okay. I feel like I might see a spiky shield on this side. I kind of want to double the Latios. I'm going to go for knockoff with this. And I think I go for Ice Spinner with this. Because if they don't Terra, then it could be bad. And they do Terra. I do predict the spiky shield, Ice Spinner, and knockoff. We knock off the Soul Dew, which is kind of an insane item, by the way. And Tailwind. So that's actually really, really bad that they use Tailwind there. Because now they both outspeed both of my Pokemon, right? You can kill. No, I have focus touch on this, so neither of them can kill this directly. And Latios can't really do much to Tinkaton, actually. So what I'm worried about is this Ogre Pawn attacking Tinkaton, right? So what happens is I try to sucker punch the Ogre Pawn, but it uses Follow Me, which I didn't see coming because I really thought that he would try to attack Tinkaton with the Ogre Pawn and then like Draco Meteor into Chen Pao. So we see that Draco Meteor. I'm brought down to Sash and I Thunder Wave, right? Because I thought I was gonna be able to sucker punch this, Thunder Wave this, and then this would outspeed the Latios on the next turn, right? Because I know nothing this can do is great. And if I killed this, then it would be probably Flutter Mane in the back, and I wanted to save my Gigaton Hammer for the Flutter Mane. So Flutter Mane actually switches in this turn, which I thought was a little strange, but it makes sense because they're trying to get rid of the special attack drop. And with the Paralysis, my Chen Pao would be faster, but they use Follow Me again. And I knock off, and it doesn't kill, but it will kill next time, is the important thing. The only problem is this Flutter Mane is still alive. And this Flutter Mane outspeeds this, but notably, we see that it's a special attack photosynthesis, right? I was really expecting it to be speed proto or focus sash. So seeing it be special attack proto is actually good for me. Because not only does it mean that not only does it mean that it doesn't have the focus sash, it means that my Chen-Pao will always outspeed it because it can't be max speed, right? If it's max speed, then it won't get the special attack photosynthesis. So I now know that I'm always going to be faster than this outside of Tail with Chen-Pao, which is really, really good because this won't have any priority to kill me. So this turn, Ogerpon actually gets paralyzed. It was going to go for Follow Me, but actually, that it is good that it gets parried there because I go for Sucker Punch, which is nice. And then I go for, it uses Dazzling Gleam, and I go for Knockoff into the Ogerpon and kill it. And now the Tailwind is gone, and we got Passimian. And Passimian is Choice Scarf. Because it's a special attack, Flutter Mane too, I know that I will always outspeed it with Choice Scarf Passimian. But now the problem is, there's a couple of plays I could make here, because I don't know if Tinkaton outspeeds anything here, right? It likely won't outspeed if they're like max speed. So Passimian kind of needs to do a lot here. There's a couple plays I could make. I could close combat into the Latios, which will kill it. I assume it would kill it. Which would be great. And then I could Gigaton Hammer this, right? Problem is, if I make the play wrong and they like protect this or something, and then they somehow kill my Tinkaton, I lose. I just instantly lose because I'm locked into close combat and I can't hit this. The other play I could make is I Iron Head this, and I like Thunder Wave or something into the Latios slot. Or I could just Gigaton Hammer the Latios slot, or like Knockoff or something. The problem with this is once again, like if this protects, I'm just because this would kill my Passimian, and yeah, it's not good. And I take the 50-50 and I decide I'm gonna Iron Head the Flutter Mane, and they protect. So if I close combat here, I think I just win the game. I do Gigaton Hammer that slot. It does not KO. It's left with 13%, and they actually Tailwind. So if I close combat this slot, I would have probably just won the game. Instead, now Shadow Ball into Tinkaton. It doesn't actually KO even with the special attack boost. And I get my Citrus Berry. So the other play would have been safer. The other play would have been way safer. But we do lose game 1. Which is not... Oh, excellent. Restarted. Which is not good. We do not like losing game 1 in the finals. So now we're going to go into game 2. And I'm thinking, okay, my lead was fine, but Chen-Pao kind of was stuck on the field. It didn't really feel like it was doing anything. Like, especially into the Arcanine, it gets intimidated. It kind of just like sits there. And I didn't really like the Chen-Pao lead. So I decided to mix it up. I bring the same 4 Pokemon, but instead this time I lead with Raikou and Passimian. And they lead with Morgrem and Arcanine. We get the Defiant boost again. And now I'm like, okay. There's a couple things that could happen here. They could use Light Screen. They could use Reflect, right? They could fake something out. But Raikou's inner focus. So they can't fake out Raikou. So I'm like, okay. It'd be kind of a crazy play for them to Terra Water their Arcanine in front of a Raikou. Right? So I decide I'm going to double into the Raikou with Scald and Close Combat. Because at this point, I really do think that it is Choice Band, so it's not going to protect. So if I go for Scald and I go for Close Combat, I think I'll always kill this Arcanine, regardless of, like, they would have to exactly, like, Terra Water and use Reflect, I think, to stop me from killing it. So I'm like, okay, this seems like a really good play. And they Thunder Wave Passimian. But notably, they don't Terra Arcanine. So I'm like, okay, Passimian is really slow now, which kind of sucks. But I kill the Arcanine right away, immediately, with Scald. which is super, super good because that Arcanine was a big problem last time, right? And then I also get fully paralyzed and don't move. Uh, I thought I close combat the Morgrem, but I got fully paralyzed. But now I'm like, oh, this Passimian kind of is useless now because the whole point that it outspeeds everything, but now that it's paralyzed, it really doesn't do that. It just dies to Fluttermane. It just dies to Latios. Like, this guy's kind of useless. So, and I'm like, oh, this is also gonna set up screens now. Not in a great spot. Despite the fact that I got a KO first turn and barely only lost 10% from my life orb, I actually think that I am in a terrible position. So what happens is get the special attack. I switch to Tinkaton. They go for Reflect actually, which is super super nice, right? Because I'm attacking with Raikou into Fluttermane, and I'm faster. I'm actually faster than the Fluttermane, which I didn't think was gonna happen, but because their special attack, I realized like, oh, they have to be pretty low speed actually in order to get the special attack booster. So I also get a crit, which I mean I still 2-hit KO, but it's a big deal. That crit is actually a pretty big deal because it means that I still 2-hit KO after light screen, which I might have anyway, but it would have been close. So we get the crit on the Fluttermane, and they go for Dazzling Gleam, which I expected. And Raikou tanks it pretty well. Tinkaton obviously tanks it well. And now I'm in a really, really good position, especially because Tinkaton, or especially because I know Raikou is faster than the Fluttermane. So the obvious play here is fake out the Morgrem and just Thunderbolt the Fluttermane. Obviously they can protect, but even if they do, I think I'm like Raikou guaranteed outspeeds everything else on this team. So as long as it's not like Scizor in the back, I well or Ogerpon because it can follow me, right? But Scizor in the back would be the only thing that could really boom me here. But I'm like, wait, it's probably Ogerpon in the back, right? So if I Thunderbolt this and fake out this, right? Then next turn Raikou's faster. I can Flying Terra Blast into Ogerpon to kill it, and then it's just Fluttermane and Morgrem left. Fluttermane's on like 2 HP and outsped by Chenpao in the back. So I'm like, okay, even if they protect this and switch to Ogerpon, I'm still fine. Which is the play that they do make. They make the right play here. I Thunderbolt there and fake out. Actually Gig Time Hammer. Wow, I thought I faked out. Um actually it's probably worse than a Giga Time Hammer there. No, it doesn't matter. Because I still kill this with knockoff. But now I'm like, okay, I don't kill this Ogerpon with Thunderbolt, but I think I should be able to kill it with Flying Terra Blast, which is what I go. I don't. Okay, I don't go for that. Actually, I I keep thinking of the wrong. Okay, whatever. I switched to Passimian actually to sack. Um, actually, yes, this is to get my Gigaton Hammer back, right? I switched to Passimian to sack it because I know like it's useless the whole game because it's slow. Um, and I know this is gonna go for Dazzling. So what happens is they follow me. I Thunder Wave. I want to get the Thunder Wave off just for the chance that maybe it's not able to follow me in the future in case it like lives the Flying Terra Blast is what I was covering for here. So we Thunder Wave that, and we tank the Dazzling Gleam. We let Passimian go down. And we switch back into Raikou, and now I can Flying Terra Blast. And we take out that. I don't think that crit mattered, because I'm Life Orb. I think it should kill anyway. So yeah, I don't think that mattered. And then actually, Tinkaton is also faster than this Fluttermane, which I was really, really surprised by. So this Fluttermane is really slow, actually. And then it's just Morgrem left, and even like Terra Steel with Light Screen, it doesn't matter. Like, look at how much damage and I get the para. Not that it matters. It's paralyzed, can't move, and it gets taken out by Tinkaton, and we go to game 3. Now, here I'm thinking, okay, Simeon was kind of useless in the last match, right? It just got Thunder Waved once, and it did nothing the rest of the match. And also, Dazzling Gleam from Fluttermane is super threatening. So I decide to actually switch up what's in the back. And I also have to switch on my lead, obviously, because I'm not gonna bring Simeon this time. So I think, okay, they saw that my Raikou Simeon lead last time. I think they're gonna make an adjustment because that felt like my Raikou Simeon lead felt really good. I think they're gonna make an adjustment to try to counter that. So instead, I lead with Raikou and Chen Pao, and I was right. They do switch to Ogerpon and Morgrim. But this time, in the back, I don't have Passimian. I actually have Petra, which is gonna be helpful later on. But for now, I think I'm in a pretty decent spot here because I can double into the Ogerpon and probably take it out, even if they like light screen, reflect, whatever. I do think there's a good chance they spiky shield, and I don't want to lose focus sash on Shinpao. Notably, I want to keep the focus sash. So even though Ice Spinner would normally be a stronger move here, I decide to go for Sucker Punch because then if it's spiky shields, I don't take the chip and I keep my focus sash intact. So they do spiky shield, and I do double into it, which is unfortunate, but it was pretty expected. And I do Sucker Punch again and Thunderbolt, but it doesn't KO. Thunderbolt does 36% with the light screen. Sucker Punch actually goes before the reflect, so it hits for 38. But now Ogerpon gets to use Horn Leech, and it's a ton of damage, and it heals back up to 56%. So I'm like, oh, that's not good. That is not good. They have 2 screens up, and I've barely done any damage, and they just did a ton to my Raikou, which is like basically my win condition, right? So I have to play defensive here. I have to switch to Pecharunt, and they spiky shield. I go for Sacred Sword into Morgrim though, because I expect the spiky shield. And they actually foul play into my Pecharunt, which does a lot more damage than I was really expecting. My attack isn't. I'm not using my attack, so it's pretty low. It is super effective, obviously, but still. And then I switched to Tinkaton next turn because I don't want my Shenpao to lose its sash, obviously. And they make a good play here. They switch into Scizor on my Malignant Chain, and they Thunder Wave my Pecharunt, which is obviously bad for obvious reasons, right? My Pecharunt now has a chance to be fully paralyzed. I wasn't really worried about the speed too much because I'm probably slower than like everything here anyway. So the speed doesn't matter. I just don't like the chance to get fully paralyzed. And they're probably gonna Thunder Wave Tinkaton again this next turn. But now I'm like, well, Scizor is on the field in front of 2 Pokemon that normally wouldn't be able to do too much to it with screens up. It's going to try to set up a Swords Dance, I think. So this turn, they Thunder Wave Tinkaton, and I was right. They do set up a Swords Dance, but I was ready for this. I Gigaton Hammer the Morgrim, actually get a crit, which I think matters. Yeah, well, it definitely matters, right? But like the question is like this Morgrim kind of would have been stuck on the field otherwise with nothing to do because light screen and reflector. Although light screen ends this turn, so they would have been able to light screen again. So actually that crit is pretty big. But I do foul play into the scissor, which because of the reflect, unfortunately, doesn't do it only does like 50%. But it's still good damage. And it means if they can't set up another sword stand, they will die to it. Now, Fluttermane comes in here again, and I'm like, man, this is a tough situation, right? Because they could Dazzling Gleam, they could do a bunch of different things here. And I don't have my Gigaton Hammer active because I just used it last turn. So what I want to do instead is, we'll see. I want to Terra normal Petra run, right? 'Cause I think this Shadow Ball is coming into that slot, which will kill. I don't think anything else from this. I don't think like a Moonblast or anything from this Fluttermane would kill this raw. Um, so in order to kill my Petulant here, they would have to exactly Bullet Punch plus Moonblast, which would be kind of a crazy call out to make. So they Bullet Punch tickets on and actually lives on 3%, which is a pretty clutch survival. I get my Citrus Berry, and they take damage from their Life Orb, which means that after this Shadow Ball and knockoff, I don't go for foul play. But the knockoff is good here. It gets rid of the Life Orb. But I didn't go for foul play. I went for Shadow Ball because I was worried that they might protect, right? So I wanted to. I actually did. I thought that Shadow Ball might do a little bit more, but this is a very defensive Flitter main, right? Because I was modest on. I was like max special attack modest on this. Um, but it is a pretty tanky Flitter main. Now this turn gets a little sketchy, right? Because I know I have Shenpao Raikou in the back, and they don't have Latios, notably, and they don't have any more ways of controlling the speed, except for they have priority Bullet Punch on Scizor, which gets outpaced by my Sucker Punch from Shenpao. So, knowing that I have Raikou and Shenpao in the back, this seems like this is actually a very good position, right? I can one-hit KO all of these Pokemon with my Raikou from this range, and it outspeeds all of them. So, I'm actually fine with both of my Pokemon getting knocked out here, which is exactly what happens. Because they Terra Fairy Fluttermane and attack Petulant, which is actually really nice that they get rid of their Terra. So both of my Pokemon get knocked out, and it's down to Raikou and Shenpao versus Fluttermane, Ogerpon, and Scizor. Oh wait, actually, I want to shed this because this is one of the most pivotal turns of the battle, I think. So I'm in a pretty good spot, I think. But then I realized, like, okay, they can make like they can make like one of 3-ish different plays here. The obvious play is they just Bullet Punch Dazzling Gleam, right? And but that play is super risky for them because if I Sucker Punch plus Thunderbolt, they just lose immediately, right? So I'm considering other plays, and one I think about is they could protect Fluttermane and switch to Ogerpon, and then I don't think I can KO Ogerpon in one hit with Shenpao. I probably can. Now that I think about it, I probably can, right? It'd be close. I definitely think I get it with Raikou. But they could also Spiky Shield and break my Focus Sash, which would lose me the game if I attack it into it with Shenpao. So that's a play they can make. What they could also do is expect me to Sucker Punch this, and they Swords Dance instead, and then wait, what was that? What was that line? They Swords Dance instead, and then they switch this slot to. I don't know. There was another play I thought of in the moment, but I can't remember it now. Because they didn't just protect Flurmane. So yeah. So the other play they could do is they could Swords Dance with this on my Sucker Punch, protect this, and then that gives them another turn. And I'm like super, super nervous in the moment here. And I do think that they might do the Ogerpon thing, but the problem is if I read them doing the Ogerpon thing, I Thunderbolt this, I probably just attack this normally. If I get it wrong, they Bullet Punch this, they Fluttermane might die, but then they just win the game later, I think. Right? Because they Bullet Punch, I kill. Well, they could protect. Actually, no. If they Bullet Punch, protect Fluttermane, then Ogerpon comes in and I lose. So, but if they make the other play where I try to Sucker Punch this, I try to Thunderbolt this, but then they switch to Ogerpon and protect Fluttermane, then I still have outs, right? So I decided to go for that play. Unfortunately, they do the Ogerpon switch and protect. So I get the turn wrong. But like I said, I do still have outs, but this is not a good position, right? Because they can follow me with Ogerpon, and they can Dazzling Gleam. But I know that my Raikou is faster than Fluttermane, and I think it kills Ogerpon with Thunderbolt. So, and I still, notably, I still have Sash on Chen Pao. So, by KOing the Ogerpon here and protecting Chen Pao, I can actually 1v2 in the end because I'm faster than both. So that's what I do. I protect and follow me, and Thunderbolt comes out, and I get the KO. And they do Dazzling Gleam to take the KO on Raikou. So now it's Chen Pao 1v2, but I have Focus Sash. But this is essentially a 50-50, right? There's two plays I could make. I could try to Sucker Punch into the Scizor because it has Bullet Punch, right? I would have to Sucker Punch that because if they Bullet Punch and then attack with this, I lose. So if I Sucker Punch, I get the KO, and then it's just Fluttermane left, and I outspeed and kill it. But the problem with that is they could Swords Dance with this, and then they attack with Fluttermane, and I lose. Alternatively, I could attack the Fluttermane and KO it, but if they protect the Fluttermane and then they Bullet Punch with Scizor, then I lose. So it comes down to a 50-50. And I decide, you know what? I'm going to attack the Fluttermane. And we see it protect. We see it protect on the Fluttermane. Which I'm like, oh, man, it's over. But then, to my surprise, Scizor also protects. They were just trying to scout out what I was doing, but little do they know that this was actually a huge mistake. Because now, I Ice Spinner that. Now, the Fluttermane only has a 1 in 3 chance to hit this protect. So I'm like, okay, I just have to go for it. If I lose from a 1 in 3, I lose from a 1 in 3. And they fail the double protect. They get the Bullet Punch. I actually don't go down to Focus Sash even. They actually don't even bring me to Sash, which is crazy. And Fluttermane goes down. But now we're in one of the end games of all time because it's a Sucker Punch end game. Everyone's favorite. So how this works is I have 5 Sucker Punch BP left. I can just keep trying to Sucker Punch, but if they Swords Dance, then I lose. Well, no. If they Swords Dance, then my Sucker Punch fails. I don't instantly lose, right? But I only have 5 tries, and they basically have to call out when I'm not going to Sucker Punch and try to Bullet Punch on that turn specifically. Except I'm super confident that I'm going to win this because I have an unheard of strategy for Sucker Punch 1v1s that never fails. It's never failed. And that is to just attack turn 1, no Sucker Punch. They never see it coming, and I get the win. And that's it. That's it. I won the PPDL Draft League. Woo! I did it. I actually can't believe I won. It was crazy. I was not going into it. I was not expecting to win, but I do think I played very well throughout the season, and I'm super excited to have won. But yeah, thank you all for watching this series, and goodbye. I hope to play more draft leagues in the future. But bye bye.